The following is a presentation of TFNN. The Morning Market Kickoff with your host, Tommy O'Brien. Now, Tommy O'Brien.
Good Friday morning, everybody. I'm Tommy O'Brien, coming to you live from TFNN. Friday morning, 8:30 a.m., 60 minutes to go until that opening bell. We got a little bit of a mixed market. We get some bank earnings, pretty decent earnings right now, but the market trailing off a bit. President-elect Biden last night coming out with his stimulus plan, $1.9 trillion. The market pretty much anticipating a lot of that. We're pulling back a little bit this morning. You got the S&Ps right now down about 12 points, trading at 37.77. We made it as low as 37.65 overnight. You see the action yesterday. The slide really begins at about 1 p.m. Eastern time. We were up there at about 38.13. We've given up about 36 points if you look where we were at about 1 p.m. Eastern time yesterday. NASDAQ 100, stronger than the rest, 12,909. NASDAQ futures in the positive right now. Got the Dow futures off 146 points, 30,761. You see the lows this week, 30,636 made Monday. We slide down from about 31,100. You're talking about 350 points from yesterday afternoon. Lows of the session overnight, 30,700. Currently sitting 30,768 right now. Russell's just got all the volatility. How about yesterday's move up to 2163? You're talking about 43 points, a solid 2%. The Russell traded from basically at 2120 at 9 a.m. up to 2163, almost an exact 2% to the highs. And since then, we give it all back. We got basically down at 8 a.m. this morning. We reach a low of 2121, 2% up, 2% down. The Russell with some volatility. Speaking of volatility, Bitcoin holding up relatively well. $2,000 moves becoming the literal norm to the minimum in Bitcoin. You back it up to where we were a week ago. January 8th, you're trading at 42,000. You're back to 31,000 on Monday. We're back above 40,000 on Thursday. Currently sitting at about 37,830 on Bitcoin. Crude oil above $53. Almost made it to 54 this week. 53.93 on Wednesday. We were back up near that level last night. Currently trading 53.05. Gold contract this morning down about $3 at 18.47. Pretty tame week for gold this week when you look at where we've been, right? I mean, you're talking about a trading range between about 1830, the upper bound 1860. We're sitting right almost square in the middle of that trading range, 1848 right now, the price of gold. Silver down 43 cents at 25.35, and notes and bonds. We got a little bit of higher price and lower yield. We're looking at a yield right now of about 1.09%. The 10-year is up 7 ticks at 136.26. You got the 30-year up 25 ticks at 169 even. And we'll pull up the VIX this morning. Volatility index spiking a bit with a little bit of negative market action. Again, we got the S&Ps down about 16 points right now, and the VIX climbing slightly to a level of 2388. All right. Love doing the program at 8:30 every morning. We always get some good economic numbers that come out. Yesterday, we got initial weekly jobless claims coming in at almost 1 million. This morning, we got retail sales falling 0.7% in December. Market was looking for a flat reading, not what you want to see, but not all too surprising in terms of yesterday seeing the initial weekly jobless claims exceeding expectations to the negative side. This morning, seeing retail sales exceeding expectations to the negative side. Retail sales falling 0.7% in December. That number coming out just 4 minutes ago at 8:30. You're seeing the market react slightly to that number, but no real reaction, all things considering, right? You're sitting there, a little bit of volatility at 8:30, but we're down about 2 points from where we started off. All right, as I mentioned, it is earnings season. And we got some bank earnings, and J.P. Morgan, Mr. Diamond at the helm, crushing it as usual. Beats across the board. Now, these banks have accelerated higher in dramatic fashion recently, coming off the heels of the Georgia election, right? You have yields rising above 1%. We're sitting about 1.1% right now. J.P. Morgan Chase's fourth quarter earnings, $3.79 a share. How about the market was looking for only $2.60? That's like a 50% beat. Revenue They beat by $1.3 billion in 90 days. They come in with $30.16 billion. Market was looking for $28.7. The bank released $2.9 billion from its cash set aside for expected loan defaults in the quarter, resulting in a $1.9 billion boost after about $1 billion in charge-offs. So they released almost $3 billion from its pile of cash set aside for expected loan defaults. That's pretty encouraging when you think about that, right? They were setting aside all this money in the front. Now you have an area where the efficacy of the vaccines, and then you have the stimulus, of course, maybe, right? Obviously, I should say, with what JP Morgan is doing there, they don't think they're going to need the billions that they thought they might for expected loan defaults in the quarter. Encouraging news for the future, for sure. So we got into all the numbers. We also got Citigroup. We'll pull up theirs in a moment as well. They beat analyst profit estimates. Bank releases money set aside for loan losses. Almost the same script that you saw with JP Morgan, right? So Citi said earnings fell 7% to $4.63 billion, or $2.08 a share. The market was looking for $1.34. Company's revenue fell 10% to $6.5 billion. Market was looking for 16.7, so a slight miss. And now we're talking Citi right now. Citi released $1.5 billion in reserves for credit losses, bigger than the analysts had expected. That compared with a reserve build of $436 million in the third quarter and $253 million a year earlier. As a result, credit costs in the period more than $2 billion less than a year earlier. But as I mentioned, folks, look at the action. There's JP Morgan. We're trading down about $2. Talk about some volatility going on. The earnings call looks to just have started at 8:30 when we were on the air. You put this on the daily, and not too surprising to imagine why, when they come out with good numbers, that you're not dramatically accelerating higher when you just had JP Morgan over the period of about 2.5 months, trade from 95 to 140, which is a $45 run, which is almost a 50% pop in 2.5 months. Okay, something to consider, folks, when you're looking at some of these equities, when you're trying to think of the moves that they can have off of earnings. You just traded from 123 to 141. I mean, you just traded up $17. You just traded up almost 15% in the last, what is that? Let's zoom it in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trading days. 15% in 7 trading days for the banks, rightfully so with rising yields. But how much higher can you go? Even on strong numbers, the market's saying, yeah, that's strong, but the stock is strong. We might have been looking for a little bit more strength, actually, if you wanted to trade above this 141, and then you jump over to Citi. Pretty much the same action, right? Pretty strong numbers. Citi did not have the revenue beat like JP Morgan did, but you have Citi up to $69 overnight. A little bit of volatility. We're down slightly this morning, but again, you put Citi on a daily, and we just traded from 40 to 70. You just traded up 75% in Citi. Do you hear me, folks? 75%. Citi just went up from 40 to 70. You buy Citi at 40. Today, you made $30. You made a 75% return buying a bank on November 1st. The moves are just amazing, folks, but that's the reason. When we come into some of these earnings events, something to keep your eye on. When some of these equities get a little bit ahead of themselves, the market's very forward-looking. All right, when you have an equity like these banks trading so dramatically higher coming into earnings, man, there's a lot of resistance to trade higher. And we're seeing it with JP Morgan and Citi. Strong numbers, but slightly lower. Stay tuned, folks. S&P's minus 15. We'll be right back to see what else we have going on Friday trading.
Hey there, I'm Andy Arbertine with Tiger Precious Metals and Stones. Whether you're looking to buy and sell precious metals or trying to find the perfect diamond ring, I'm here to help. I have over 15 years of experience with diamonds and precious metals. You can call me directly at 727-329-8245, and I will personally answer any questions you have and help you find exactly what you're looking for. I will be your personal concierge in the metal and stone business. Give me a call today, 727-329-8245.
TFNN has launched our brand new website. You can still visit us at the same TFNN.com URL, but when you do, you'll see a new and improved homepage with a much simpler navigation, whether you're watching Tiger TV live in high definition or just accessing your newsletter subscriptions. We even have new pricing in 6 months and yearly options. Check out the new TFNN.com now and experience all the upgrades. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Hi, folks. This is Tom O'Brien. The printing presses are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The U.S. deficit has risen 200% in 1 year with no end in sight. The markets are looking for an additional stimulus bill to get us through this once-in-a-generation pandemic. There is no free lunch, folks. The more stimulus dollars put into the marketplace, the less your dollar is worth each and every day. This is the time to protect yourself with a portion of your portfolio in the metal market. The Gold Report comes out each Monday morning. I bisect and dissect the dollar, silver, gold, the XAU, and the HUI. The Gold Report is a long-term hedge against the dilution of your buying power. The U.S. has put more than $6 trillion into the marketplace in the last 6 months, with more expected in the next few months. The market did and does need the stimulus, but it will have long-term implications on our buying power. The Gold Report comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to TFNN.com and order the Gold Report now. Protect your buying power. Order the Gold Report now.
Are China A-shares hot or not? If you trade China A-shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A-share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A-shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV for the latest market information.
Welcome back, folks. We have the S&P's minus 16 right now. NASDAQ slipping into the negative, down a point right now, 12,900. Jumping over to Bitcoin again, down $1,700. I had to pause myself for a moment. You pull up the 5-year weekly, and man, I remind folks, do you remember what this high originally looked like on this chart, right? You back it up and take away basically the run it's had this year, and that is how parabolic the run looked on this chart from December of 2017 in terms of how astronomical that price was when futures began trading December of 2017, reaching a high of 20,650. Point being, that looks like nothing on this chart because this run now has the astronomical parabolic effect that we're all so used to, folks. Be careful in Bitcoin if you are dabbling at almost $40,000 per Bitcoin. Something interesting here, when you start seeing stories, I mean, it's tantalizing, folks. I'm talking about it because it's interesting, right? I do not trade Bitcoin myself right now at all. But when you start seeing constant stories, can't blame the news because it's just interesting when you think about the run this has had. And this chart only goes back to when you started trading in futures, right? This chart doesn't go back to when Bitcoin was at $2, when it was at $200 even. So the stories here are pretty interesting. You got, number one, a man who supposedly, these are all supposedly, folks, but interesting nonetheless. It's Friday morning. We'll start up a little interesting story. And you got James Howells, 35, says he mistakenly binned a hard drive. I think that means threw it away in this article. I'm not sure. 7,500 Bitcoins while clearing out his home in 2013. At today's prices, how about $250 million plus 30 million left over? He supposedly threw it away. It went to a landfill. He wants to go digging in that landfill. And the Newport City Council says, I don't know if we're going to let that happen. Interesting nonetheless. You jump over to the next story. How about having 2 guesses left to remember a password that you created 10 years ago? And if you do, you get $250 million. If you don't, you get 0. I'd watch that reality show. Let's put that one on TV. So you have Stephen Thomas, forgotten password, You got a hard drive containing 240 million or 175 million pounds worth of Bitcoin. This story kind of reverberating around. And you got, and this is where the early days, remarkable, folks. This gentleman, born in Germany, lives in San Francisco. He was given 7,002 Bitcoins, not 7,000, 7,002 Bitcoins as payment for making a video explaining how cryptocurrencies work more than a decade ago. At the time, they were worth a few dollars each. That's not a bad payment. That means he got paid like 20 grand for this video. I don't know. It's all hearsay. It's all like whatever it is, right? But interesting nonetheless, because there are real stories about this, folks, in terms of people out there that were into Bitcoin 10 years ago. Nonetheless, he wrote the password on a piece of paper. That is gone. He's got a digital wallet, and he had 10 failed attempts. And then the password will encrypt itself. And guess what? He's got 2 left. Nonetheless, interesting stuff. But it all speaks to when you start really seeing these types of articles everywhere, folks, that sometimes points to a high as well. You know, when every article is like, oh, man, we have all these people who should be billionaires, but they just lost their Bitcoins. Might be a little bit of tulip mania hysteria going on out there nonetheless. All right, let's jump back into the retail sales number we got at 8:30. That number coming out, retail sales dropping 0.7% last month. The Commerce Department says declined further in December as renewed measures to slow COVID-19 undercut spending at restaurants and reduced traffic to malls. Retail sales dropping 0.7%. Data for November was revised down to show sales declining 1.4 instead of 1.1. So we got a revision in November in there as well. Economists had been looking for an unchanged number. So you get a 0.7% drop in December. You get a revision in November for an additional 0.3% drop. Excluding automobiles, gasoline, building materials, food services, retail sales tumbled 1.9% last month after a downwardly revised 1.1. Gas really been on the rise there. Building materials, of course, with the housing market. Food services, you take those out of the equation, sales tumbling 1.9%. That is the so-called core number. Correspond most closely with the consumer spending. You take all that out, right, and it really is just consumers. They were previously estimated to have decreased by 1.5% in November. And then they talk about the stimulus plan in here as well. So that coming out at 8:30, back to a 15-minute, back to the S&Ps. We're down 17 points. But as you see on that retail sales number, pretty choppy action, no real action so far to speak of. All right, getting into other stocks making moves this morning. We talked about the 2 big ones in terms of JP Morgan and Citi. PNC out with their numbers as well, better than reported revenue and earnings for the fourth quarter. Operational results solid. And it recaptured some credit reserves thanks to the improving economy. You got PNC trading lower as well, folks. These banks just got ahead of themselves. You know, there's PNC. All right, you're up to 162. You're down to about 158 on some strong numbers today. But again, you just go from 105 to 165, folks. Banks don't normally trade this way. Not sure what they could have come up with to force these banks dramatically higher. If anything, the market was looking for decent numbers, looking for a much more decent future with yields at 1.1%, and you got all the banks pulling back a bit on strong numbers so far this morning. All right, Disney. Disney ended its annual pass program for Disneyland, citing uncertainty about when the park would reopen and the limitations that would be imposed on it when it does. So Disneyland, California, closed for 10 months. Disney plans to issue prorated refunds to current annual pass holders. I can tell you, folks, from somebody that lives in Florida, about 45 minutes to almost an hour away from Disney World, Orlando. Also, we have Busch Gardens here, a big park. You know, Florida, we got a lot of parks, right? I had an annual pass myself to Busch Gardens at least. And just talking last night or just this last week because it was actually time to renew it. And I said, man, I bought that pass in January of last year. I think we used it once or twice. And then Busch Gardens got to keep the rest of it. And I haven't renewed yet. Doesn't really feel right. Don't expect any money back. But interesting how all those annual passes yielded and how some of these companies are navigating that. And you see, I don't know how Disney planned to sell annual passes when they've been closed for 10 months out there. All right, Whirlpool, other appliance makers are on watch after Trump extended tariffs on large residential washing machines for another 2 years. They're imposed in 2018, set to expire February 8th. Let's check out those shares this morning. WHR for Whirlpool. That's quite a chart on the daily, but we're backing off. Well, I say backing off. We basically have a huge bid-ask spread right now in this stock from 188 to 194, and you closed yesterday at 192 for Whirlpool. SAP, they're forecasting flat revenue and a decline in profit for 2021. They're a German's business software company. Fourth quarter results beat analysts. Company had dropped medium-term profit targets last quarter, cautioning that a rebound from the pandemic would take longer than expected. There's SAP. You're going to open flat this morning, but man, some tough earnings last time around, right? And kind of saying the same thing, that guess what? Things are going to be a little bit slower next year in their business. All right, what else we got? Jumping around. Zoom Video. The messaging platform is higher in pre-market trading after Bernstein named Zoom a top 2021 stock pick. The firm points to Zoom's recent announcement that paid seats have passed the 1 million mark. Zoom, quite an opportunity here. When you look at where this thing pulled back, it touched the gap completely. And since then, folks, you put this on. So that gap, the high from August 31st, 325. And where did we go this week? Down to 318, and we take off like a rocket ship in Zoom. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back to finish up the program on Friday morning. Stay tuned.
Back in the day, I joined Hotel California in 2006, and like many of you, was drawn in by, as well as,
Whatever you think about, you bring about. Whatever you focus on grows.
you see, I believe that everything in life happens for us, not to us. And Tom ignited the fire within me to want to learn how to master the markets. So how did I go from knowing nothing about technical analysis to becoming the #1 market timer for the S&P 500 in 2018 and the #2 market timer in 2019? Simply put, I hired coaches with a proven track record, which led me to a whole new set of tools that I created to interpret the message of buyers and sellers. I would love the opportunity to teach you this award-winning set of tools and to help you improve your market timing. You can test drive my newsletter service, Mastering Probabilities, for the next 30 days with no risk to you. Plus, you'll gain access to archive workshops that'll take you step by step through my system. Sign up today by going to the homepage of TFNN.com and selecting Mastering Probability in the newsletter tab.
If you haven't checked out the newsletters page of TFNN.com, what are you waiting for? All of the TFNN newsletters are informative, up-to-date, affordable, and a must-have for every trader looking to gain a competitive informational edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets to offer you the very latest in market news. Plus, new subscribers get to test drive our newsletters risk-free for 30 days. From all aspects of the markets, including stocks, bonds, metals, commodities, and tech, there's a newsletter to fit your needs exclusively from TFNN. Stay informed each day you trade and get that competitive edge that will help you stay ahead of the game. Visit our newsletters page by going to TFNN.com and click the newsletters button near the top of the page. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Introducing Primal Edge.
Today, it's even more important to take a supplement that complements your health. Primal Edge is specifically formulated to boost your immune system and help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Our early ancestors found all their nutritional requirements in the wild environment. But today, our food sources don't contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that we need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated humic and fulvic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They've been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, without them, life cannot exist.
That's right, Ellen. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge. Just $89 exclusively at TFNN.com.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV for the latest market information.
Welcome back, folks. We got the market slipping a bit. We got the S&Ps off about 19 points now. NASDAQ futures off 4. The Dow approaching almost 190 points in the negative, and the Russell off 26 points at 21.27. Jumping back to commodities, crude oil, $52.85. A little bit of a drop-off just in the last few minutes of crude, below $53. Gold contract trading a little bit lower as well in about the last 25 minutes from 1850. We're down to 1836. You take a look at gold, kind of coming down right to that area we've been chopping around this week. The lower part of that area, you're talking about right where we are basically. We make a low on Monday around 1830. On Tuesday, we're down at about 1836. Thursday morning, that's Wednesday night / Thursday morning. We're down right where we are right now. The next stop, Sunday night, we were at 1817 in gold. We'll see where gold contract goes today. And how about silver? Look at that moved. Down $1 now. Watch out for that silver market. Just since we came on the air, folks, I'll put this on a 5-minute. And, man, silver starts at 8:30 at 25.35, and we drop 65 cents in a heartbeat to 24.70. We'll check back in on some of those banks to see how they're faring. There's your action on JP Morgan. The conference call begins. Again, quite the acceleration to the upside, folks. Anytime you see a company coming into earnings and you're up like 50% in the prior 2 months, they got a lot to prove when it comes time for earnings. JP Morgan proved it, but the market said, yeah, and they kind of do, right? And so in terms of and next, and what? Of course we knew you're going to crush it, man. Citi backing off as well. PNC backing off slightly, and I believe we had Wells Fargo numbers. Yes, we do. All the same. All backing off after trading dramatically higher over the last couple days. And we'll see where today goes. But I imagine it's going to be pretty tame action. The market off about 20 points. I mean, this may be a case, folks, of buy the rumor in terms of all the stimulus, sell the news. We're backing off a bit, but all things considered, right up there near all-time highs in that S&P. And we'll wrap it up with the volatility index. We got a 24 handle as this market creeps lower a bit. Volatility index 2411 right now. Stay tuned, folks. We got Larry Pesavento. He's coming up next. I'll be back at 10 o'clock with Tom. Live programming all Friday at TFNN. We'll be right back, folks.